obviously this is someone who made some real bad mistakes over his time in Boston, and to say that he's suddenly a changed man in 5 weeks, like, I mean, no, like, this is, I don't see that. I don't see that. So how does this work?
You know how it works?
Yeah.
Win, point blank. This hire has absolutely nothing to do with anything other than winning basketball games, which to me is a recipe for disaster when you put all your eggs in that one particular basket. Because Ime, whether, regardless of what he says in that press conference, to Gary's point, you've got to show consistency over time. You've got to show growth and change over time. You can't just show up there and say, yep, I'm a different man 5 weeks later. Yeah, you went from being the hottest thing in the coaching game to unemployed or to be suspended for the year. And now you're back in the game with a team that's 2-5. So things have changed, but I'm not sure, to Gary's point, I'm not sure Ime has changed. And I'm not convinced that he's going to be all that apologetic at that opening presser. I would not be shocked if the confidence that he exuded in Boston, when he really didn't have no receipts for that confidence, is going to be still applicable in Brooklyn. Ime, as we all know, is extremely comfortable and confident in his ability to coach. And I think that's going to be the message that he's going to try to push out as often as he can, that I'm here to coach. I'm here to coach. Just like, players, I'm just here not to get fined. Ime's just there to coach. That's going to be his mantra. And the players are going to absolutely fall in line with that. They're going to say, look, I don't know what happened in Boston, but all I know is he's a heck of a coach, and we're glad he's here. And Ime is going to sing that same tune. Look, Boston is in the past. I'm going to leave that in the past. I'm here to be the Brooklyn Nets head coach. That's what my focus is on. And as much as we're going to try, as the members of the media, to try to get him to open up about that, I don't think he will. And there will be at some point, I got to believe that there's certain things that Ime has agreed to not talk about. And those are a lot of the questions, as you can imagine, we want answers to. I mean, think back to that Brad Stevens and Wick Grossbeck press conference. And I thought Wick's, the statement that he made about, I'm not used to having a piece of paper to kind of, limit myself because I like being open and free talking. And Ime isn't like that. So for Ime, saying very little, that's going to come naturally to him. And being more guarded, that's going to come naturally to him because, in his time in Boston, we never really got to know him. We never really got to be around him the way we were like Brad Stevens or Doc Rivers and some of the other coaches that have come through here. Part of that had to do with the pandemic and just the constraints that we had as far as access. But a bigger part of it was just their demeanor. I mean, even though, he was the head coach and we had all these limitations, there were still other assistant coaches that I spent time with that I got to know really well. Will Hardy, who's in Sacramento, him and I had a number of conversations and certainly more than I had with Ime. And I just think that Ime right now, he is in the best landing spot that he could possibly be in, considering all the stuff that he has been involved with at near the end of his time in Boston.
And if you add to that, well, for one, the bar is kind of the floor when you think about Brooklyn, even though they have these superstars and we've already heard now 2 seasons that they're supposed to be the next best thing when you talk about basketball. He doesn't have that much work to do in the sense of like the expectation for the Brooklyn Nets has still not exceeded what we expected. So I think in that, from a coaching standpoint, he's kind of good on that sense. If it's a failure, it's just, you blame Kyrie. If it's not, he's just the genius of a coach that he's proven to be, quotes, so far here in Boston. But I think another thing, Gary, you mentioned only being 5 weeks out. Wouldn't you say the shelf life of a coach is a little short in that sense? Like, if a year had gone by, would Ime even have a shot at being a head coach in the league?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought next season was a little pushing it, but maybe the year after. But I thought he would just need some time to this not to be a story, for this to cool down, for this to become yesterday's news, and him to rehabilitate his image, do some interviews, tell people that he's changed, and then walk into that interview with whatever team with confidence and say, hey, I made a mistake. Now, I mean, to me, yeah, he's jumping on the calls while they're hot. I'm sure he's going to be compensated nicely in Brooklyn. It's a big-time job. It's an organization that wants to win. He's not coaching, Oklahoma City or something. So he is coaching a big-time team in terms of wanting to compete. He's got ties there. He was a former assistant coach. But to me, I just don't think it's even it can be explained how you suddenly how have you changed as a man in a month? Like, or did you think you needed to change? I mean, that's some of the hard questions that's
a better question. Do you
think going to be, or was it a mistake? Was it just an error in judgment? Like, how are you going to frame, what you did, how, and people are going to ask, and it's going to be TMZ and all these people in the entertainment blogs and Page 6 and all that, because this is more than basketball. So I think that he's jumping on the calls when they're hot. I'm sure that there were conversations with his representative saying, well, if we were interested in you, are you ready to come back and coach now? I'm sure he was like, yeah, I am.
You've been born at home.
And let's get this moving. So to me, I'm not so sure this is a good move for Ime Udoka for his long term, because I just said before, his image right now isn't very good unless he just says, hey, this is what happened. This is all that happened, but the Celtics seem like they know more of what's going down.